So the main event, Brian Ortega, T-City taking on the Korean Zombie, Chan Sung Jung. A big fight. As I mentioned, probably a title eliminator fight,
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
I would imagine.
Ortega, a BJJ black belt. He's got that nasty triangle, hence T-City. Super dangerous off his back. He's constantly throwing up those submission attempts and slicing elbows from that position. But as we've seen, he's no slouch on the feet either. He's got substantial boxing. He likes to push the pace, and he likes to trade in the pocket. And in the pocket, he's got a very good chin. I do feel at times he maybe relies on that chin a little too much. He's got incredible heart. He's never out of the fight, even when he's down late in a fight, down on the scorecards. He always, except for this last fight against Holloway, always finds a way to get it done. He's lost only that one fight, and that was about 2 years ago. So he's actually had almost 2 years ago, quite a layoff. And then we have Korean Zombie, easily one of my favorite fighters. Within the last year, he's become one of my favorite fighters. He's won 3 of his last 4. All of them have been finishes. That loss was that last second KO to Yair.
Which he was winning.
I thought he was winning that fight.
No, he was. The judges' cards were he was going to win that decision.
He's a very high-level striker. He's a technical brawler.
Never been submitted.
Never been submitted, and he does really well in that in the pocket. He seems to be remain calculated and catch people in the pocket.
Excellent chin.
Excellent chin.
He'll take one to give you one harder.
Well, he has been knocked out a couple times,
3
but
times.
Was it Aldo, Yair? I forget who the other one is. I think it was way earlier in his career.
George Roop
or something, yeah.
WEC 51.
Oh yeah, I remember that
2010,
one.
Whatever, 10 years ago.
Yeah. He's the Zombie is also a judo black belt, so he's got some beautiful throws. He is a BJJ brown belt, but he's a very active with his submission game. He's got good ground and pound. The thing that I like most about the Korean Zombie, or what I think he does best, is very his speed. He has the ability to kind of lull his opponents into a false patience. I'm back at work, man. He's got an ability.
He beats the piss out of his patience. He lulls him to sleep. And then, wow! It's like you're living out your It's like you living out your fantasy at work.
He's able to lull his opponents into a false sense of security with his relaxed, slow, almost drowsy-like movements, and then he explodes with quick, violent shots, and he's able to catch his opponents and stagger them. That knockout of Muay was perfect example of that.
Yeah.
He was almost just standing still without even any movement, and then just drops him. Maybe he has patience too. I don't know that he's beating the shit out. But I think that speed, the ability to change speeds will be a problem, or could be a problem for Ortega. I think that long layoff for Ortega is going to be a problem. I think ring rust is very real. I think that there could be some confidence issues for Ortega coming into this fight. I mean, he's 14-0, and then you have that. While he did look good at times in that fight against Holloway, it was pretty dominant finish by Holloway. I think that, as I mentioned, he likes to fight in the pocket, and I believe Chan Sung Jun is just a little bit better in the pocket, a little more calculated. And lastly, I don't think that Ortega has fought someone with the one-punch knockout power that Korean Zombie has. I mean, Holloway's good, but it's more volume. So for those reasons, I think late in this fight, I think Korean Zombie is going to catch him. He does have good stamina, and he remains good even later rounds. I'm going with probably a knockout 4 or 5 for the Korean Zombie. Who you got here and why?
Yeah, I mean, this is, like we said earlier in the podcast, this is a fight that I've been looking forward to for a long time. Even without the kind of the drama that these guys have been engaged in over the last year, I think it's just a tremendous matchup, and I think that's one that doesn't really suit Brian Ortega that well, because when I'm trying to break down these main events, I'm always thinking past the victory. Who's got the most logical path to getting a victory? Because a lot of these fights are so, closely contested and tremendous athletes and fighters and tacticians and technicians and
inches.
I'm just thinking for this fight, how does Brian Ortega win? Does he win on the scorecard? Probably not. Does he knock Korean Zombie out? Doesn't seem likely.
Probably.
Does he submit him? Well, he's never been submitted.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking that in this fight, it just seems like it's a perfect matchup for the Korean Zombie. You know, Brian Ortega's been off for those 2 years. Korean Zombie, ever since that 4-year layoff, you know, he lost to Aldo in 2013, came back 4 years ago, 2017, fought Dennis Bermudez, finished him, has won every fight except that last second elbow to Rodriguez, and he looked fantastic in that fight as well.
He was coming on strong as the rounds went later.
Exactly, and just about all his wins, and I think he's had 16? Does he have 16 wins?
Korean Zombie?
Yeah, he has 16 wins, and I think 14 of them by finish. So this individual puts people away. I think that I think Brian Ortega is a tough guy. I think he is a good boxer, and he is good on the ground. You always have to be careful for that, because at any time he can snap up your neck in a guillotine, and it could be lights out. He can submit anybody, so you have to be careful of that. But I just think the amount of experience the Korean Zombie has, the level of competition he's been in there with, I think gives him an advantage. I think he's more powerful. Like you said, he's better in the pocket. He'll take one to give one. I think he's going to hurt Brian Ortega. I think he's going to be in control of this fight throughout, and because Brian Ortega is a tough guy, I think he's going to be able to hang in there 3-4 rounds.
That's why it's later.
But I do see that Korean Zombie eventually is going to be able to land some of those power shots and put Brian Ortega out. The emotional side of Brian Ortega concerns me. How long he's been off concerns me. The level of obviously he being in there with Max probably did help, but it was 2 years ago and he did get battered in that. I just think the Korean Zombie has more tools, and I think he's just a tougher, more powerful fighter. And I really think that the Korean Zombie, the way he's been fighting lately,
it's looked good.
I think he's gonna. Not a lot of holes. I think he's gonna be able to get not just the win, but I think he's gonna be able to finish Brian Ortega later in this fight. 4th or 5th round, and then be right in line to fight Volkanovski. So I see the Korean Zombie having a wonderful performance in this one, and then for Ortega, back to the drawing board, I guess.
2 losses to, if he loses his 2 losses, obviously to top competition. So maybe just a little step down in competition if he does lose. But you never know. As you mentioned, he could catch that submission. But fun fight.